soldier prepared to fight for his country. The Army is created primarily for combat and does not let the technician forget the basic fighting aspect of the Army mission, nor the combat soldier to remain in ignorance of military technology. Together, the combat soldier and the specialist form an inseparable team, both essential to a successful Army. I would like to say a word about the combat soldier because his importance is sometimes forgotten in this age of machines and scientific development. While a ship may symbolize the Navy and an airplane the Air Force, the only adequate symbol of the Army is the combat soldier. He is like the cutting tool moved by a great machine behind him. It is the quality of its edge which determines the performance of the entire machine. The rest, the gears, the wheels, and belts which drive the tool are all indispensable. But the decisive job is done by the cutting edge, the combat soldier. He must be a little better than most people, a little tougher, not in an unruly sense, but in the sense of having more character, stamina, fortitude, and discipline to assure that our armed forces will be victorious in the future as they have always been in the past. I hope that young men will recognize the Army as a place of great opportunity where they can grow and develop their powers. Now, I know that many approach their military service with some misgivings about the life which they're entering. There are many misunderstandings about Army life and Army ways. These false ideas have been encouraged by those who picture the Army as a rough society, dominated by overbearing officers and non-commissioned officers. I can assure you that that is not the Army as I know it. The Army, of course, must have discipline. It must be an effective team that works together in harmony and confidence. Such discipline is not arduous or difficult to bear. It is simply the subordination of the individual to the greater good of the team, which is the Army. It is the discipline defined on a bronze plaque set in the granite walls of West Point. The discipline which makes the soldiers of a free country reliable in battle is not to be gained by harsh or tyrannical treatment. On the contrary, such treatment is far more likely to destroy than to make an army. It is possible to impart instruction and to give commands in such a manner and such a tone of voice to inspire in the soldier no feeling but an intense desire to obey, while the opposite manner and tone of voice cannot fail to excite strong resentment and a desire to disobey. There is a thought in civilian life that Army people are unduly rank conscious, that great formality exists between the colonel and the major and the lieutenant and the sergeant. I know of no one's concern about rank other than the requirement of appropriate evidence of courtesy and respect of juniors for seniors, of younger for older people. Rank in the Army is not a privilege of an individual to the better things of life. It's rather a badge of servitude and a symbol of responsibility for one's subordinates. Obligation and responsibility are words heard frequently in the Army. This is natural, for the Army is made up of men who recognize that they owe something to their country, that as citizens they must give, not just receive. The Army needs men dedicated to their country with a sincere vocation for the military service. Fortunately, America has always been rich in such men who have found in the Army a purpose worthy of the dedication of their lives. Look at the faces of our greatest leaders. Why did these men dedicate their lives to the Army? Because then, as now, the Army had a mission necessary to the survival of the nation. The Army is a great deterrent force preventing war. Today, it stands ready to resist further communist aggression, employing weapons varying from the MP's pistol to the kiloton blast of its atomic weapons. It has flexibility and adaptability in applying force with measure and moderation. Wherever it is deployed along the iron and bamboo curtains, It is a reminder to friend and foe that the United States Army will resist further encroachment in the free world. I hope that the young men and their parents who have listened to my words will give serious thought to the Army as a career. The nation can afford only a first-class Army filled with first-class people. Our slogan is, let's put the best heads of America into the Army caps of tomorrow.
Now, this is Sergeant Stuart Queen, inviting you to be with us again next week for another look at your Army in action on The Big Picture.
The Big Picture is a weekly television report to the nation on the activities of the Army at home and overseas. Produced by the Army Pictorial Center, presented by the United States Army in cooperation with this station. You too can be an important part of the big picture. You can proudly serve with the best equipped, the best trained, the best fighting team in the world today, the United States Army.